Alrighty, ahead of week 6 on the pump fake. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, Jarrett Bailey joined by my good friend JP Acosta. Hi, buddy.
How you doing? This is fun. The NFL is fun. I think that's kind of the coolest thing that I've been realizing through this season. Like, of course, like there's some like scoring is down. Oh my God, what's going on? But some of the nitty gritty of the game has been really fun to parse through.
Yeah, and I think everybody was freaking out a lot over like the first month or so. Oh my goodness, what's happening to scoring? I think a lot of that's just because like no one plays in the preseason anymore. So September is basically their preseason, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get back in the swing of things. But we're starting to see offenses score a little bit more, but also they're doing it in different ways. And yeah, there's been a lot of, as there is every year, there's some surprises in the first quarter or so of the season. We'll see if it carries on into the second half of the season. And one of those is a game that we'll start with today. The game I'm most excited for in the 1 o'clock window. The 4-1 NFC East leading Washington Commanders traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, who have won their last 3 after an 0-2 start. They now hold a lead in the AFC North at 3-2. It's going to be a fun one, man. I'm very much looking forward to seeing the Commanders with, I don't want to say, quote unquote, real test, but by far their biggest test of the season so far.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be really interesting to parse through when it comes to the Commanders going against this Ravens team, because I actually think this Commanders team isn't a very good matchup, like defensively, to what the Ravens want to do on offense. Of course, they haven't really been tested that much by many opposing offenses, but what the Ravens can do to you is just beat the hell out of you in the run game with their physicality against 12 and 21 personnel. And that's something that, the Commanders really haven't been tested in that much. I think they're, according to Super Sports, they're eighth in the highest, they're the eighth lowest EPA per play allowed in 12 personnel, or I mean eighth highest, excuse me. And they're not very good when teams get them into bigger personnel groupings, and that's what the Ravens want to do. So I'm excited to see how a Dan Quinn team, which seemingly has their defensive tackles already, can go up against a team that wants to push them around physically up front. And Lamar being the equalizer that he is, how are they going to slow down Lamar Jackson? And then on the offensive side of the ball, I'm curious how the Commanders make sure Jayden Daniels doesn't throw the ball a lot. This isn't saying that Jayden Daniels has not been good throwing the ball. He's been fantastic. The offense has been fantastic. It is October, though. So this is normally when the Cliff Kingsbury offense is starting to fall off a cliff. I want to see how much the Ravens can force Daniels into third and longs and force him into those uncomfortable situations. The Ravens are really good against the run, especially in light boxes. So I wonder how the Commanders are going to respond if they can't run the ball early.
Yeah, and on the defensive side of things for Washington, they're 27th in the NFL in defensive EPA per rush. So that's less than ideal going up against a Ravens team that will happily run it all game. Frankie Louvu, I mean, that's been a guy that's kind of been the Commanders' big equalizer in the middle. He had a hell of a game against Cleveland this past week. We saw a little bit of Bobby Wagner looking like old Bobby Wagner. So I'm excited to see how the Commanders' defense steps up to the plate for this. You mentioned the Commanders' offense and whatnot. It's amazing to me what Jayden is doing with, outside of Terry McLaurin, just like a lot of dudes like Diami Brown. Noah Brown's fine. Like that's, pretty solid, number 2, number 3 guy to have. Luke McCaffrey, though, is a rookie. Zacchaeus, like it's not as if this is, a who's who of like, big receiving talents, but he's making it work and then some with the plays that he's been making.
Yeah, I think the best thing about what Daniels has done and the growth that he has shown is he's not taking the Looney Tunes hits anymore. He's shown an ability not to take a sack. His pressure to sack rate is incredibly low to start this season, and I think part of it is due to his athletic ability, but it's also because the offense has been really easy for him, and that's not a knock,
right?
But it's a simple offense. I think Cam Taylor-Britt caught some flack for saying it's a college offense, but
It's where Cliff came from, and it's just very much what it is.
Yeah. It is. But that's not an insult. It's more like they're making the game simple for the kid, and he's able to maximize it with his athletic ability.
I wrote about it in the Sporting News this past week. If Jayden keeps up even like close to this level of production, and let's say the Commanders win 11, 12 games, we could be talking about the first rookie MVP of the Super Bowl era, and I don't think that's too crazy.
Yeah, it would take them having to blow out a lot of teams and get a top seed in the playoffs for Jayden Daniels to win the MVP. But I mean, in a season where none of the top guys are playing well, I mean, who knows? I mean, right. Lamar's playing better than he was by every statistical data point you want to look at than his MVP season last year. So I guess at this point, the race is between him, Lamar, but Lamar's going to be getting points taken away by Derrick Henry, who leads the NFL in rushing. So right. We'll see. We're really early in this season. There's always the Detroitiness of it all. Like, who are they going to pick from Detroit to recognize on that offense? But I'm really curious to see how that shakes out.
Who are you picking in this game? I'm going to take Baltimore. They are 6.5-point favorites. I do think that this will be a very fun game, though.
I think I'm going to take Baltimore in this one. I think it's going to be a little closer to start the game, but I just think Baltimore has too much, and they're going to run away with it.
Lovely, lovely all around. Overall, man, like this week doesn't have too many like huge matchups. I think that that's probably the biggest one in my opinion that I'm seeing on the slate right now. So we'll just kind of work it from 1 to 4. Your Jacksonville Jaguars in London against the Chicago Bears. Jacksonville gets their first win of the year last year. Trevor Lawrence has his best game of the year last week. How are you feeling right now? And could the Jaguars get win number 2 and maybe start, really digging themselves out of this colossal hole that they dug themselves in?
If you want an offensive get-back game, play the Colts. That is my biggest takeaway from that game. They needed to play the Colts. They needed to get that offensive mojo going. I think Lawrence played his best game of the year, as you've already said. The offense looked a little more joined together. They're able to run the ball really well, which is something that a lot of teams have been able to do in Indianapolis this year. But I think this is a very, very different defense that they're going to face in London. The Bears defense is awesome.
It's very good.
I think a lot of the attention has gone to the offense because number 1 pick at quarterback, all the tools they added. But that defense is one of the best units in the league, and they are led up front. They are big, physical. I think Javon Dexter's having a really good year. I am curious to see if the Jaguars can still run the ball effectively against this team. I don't know if they will, and if this offensive line is going to be able to hold up, which I don't know if they will. But from the offense, flipping at Riverside, I guess the Jaguars defense might have an advantage here. I mean, if the Jaguars can't get any pass rush against the Bears offensive line, then we are in a major problem. That is a major problem against this team. I think the Bears had a get right game against the Panthers offensively, another team where if you want a get right game, play the Panthers defense. I thought Williams had his best day as a passer, not only because of just overall his caliber of play. He held on to the ball a long time at times, but that's what you're going to get with Caleb Williams. But I think Shane Waldron did a better job of helping him out, using motion, using bootlegs. I think that's something that they need to lean into a whole lot more with what they do on the offensive side of the ball. And it's been really curious, like why this team doesn't lean into play action or doesn't use motion a lot with Williams in the offense. I think their run game is bad. Don't let the Panthersiness of it all distract you. That run offense is bad, and I think they're playing a very good run defense in Jacksonville. But if they're able to get Williams on the move and able to get him out of the pocket where that arm talent will show up, maybe there's a chance to win this game offensively. But I feel like this game is going to be a slog.
I think so too. And you brought up the Bears defense to start. They are fourth in defensive EPA, fifth in success rate, and they lead the NFL in EPA per dropback defensively. So they have been a kick-ass unit so far this year. And you brought up the Colts and everything. Now we're starting to see like a little bit of a track record. We've got a month of the season in. Look at all the quarterbacks that have played well against the Colts. Okay, Malik Willis played pretty well against the Colts. Justin Fields had a hell of a second half against the Colts. And it's nothing against those two guys, but these aren't, the upper echelon of quarterbacks in the NFL. So I don't want to say put an asterisk next to it, but this is going to be a much larger test for the Jaguars this week compared to, a Colts team who ranks 24th in EPA per dropback on that side of the ball. I'm going to cautiously pick your Jaguars, but I don't feel good about it. This is a game I'm not betting on whatsoever in terms of the outcome, but I will cautiously pick Jacksonville in this game. I don't know if the fan in you is going to be able to overtake the analyst in you, or maybe you think that they're going to win. I don't know. What do you say?
Every time I picked the Jaguars this year, they have lost. So
Okay.
I am not picking the Jaguars in this one. I think the Bears defensive line is just too good. I think that defense is too good. They're in a closed space a whole lot better than the Colts did last week. And I think they're just going to make life difficult on this Jaguars offense. But there is an avenue where I can see the Jaguars pulling out, like, no matter who wins, I think this game is going to be more like a 17-10, real or like 20-17 type of game.
The over-under is set at 44.5. So if anything, you just bet the under in this game.
Yeah, I would say bet the under. I don't know if there are going to be many fireworks.
Lovely. All right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to New Orleans and to take on the Saints. Spencer Rattler and the Saints, that is, after Derek Carr.
We're here.
Yeah. You were very big on Spencer Rattler going into the draft and whatnot, and now he had a fun little preseason, so we're going to get to see him now after the Derek Carr injury. Bucks are 3.5-point favorites. Tampa Bay's been a very fun team to watch. I think it was Steven Ruiz said that he plays like he's on, was it Ryan Fitzpatrick on bath salts? I said frat boy Fitzmagic. I think that those are both fine comps for Baker Mayfield, where he's just, I think, a more finely tuned, more consistent, just fun roller coaster of a ride at quarterback, where he's either like extremely on, or when he's off, like he seems to be pretty off. But going up against a Saints team that has lost their last three, I mean, they're going to have their backs against the wall with a rookie quarterback. I still feel good about Tampa Bay going into this game, and I feel like 3.5 is a little bit small of a line. Might have to do with the fact that they're playing in New Orleans, but I still feel pretty confident in the Buccaneers.
So I understand why this line is a little smaller than you think it is, because the Buccaneers defense is not good. It is not good at all. I mean, we saw that defense last Thursday night.
Folded like a lawn chair.
For 509 yards passing.
Goodness gracious.
The biggest issue that they have is without Antoine Winfield Jr., they have no eraser in the middle of the field for when KJ Britt messes up in the passing game. KJ Britt is not a pass coverage linebacker. Savasier Dennis is that guy, but I don't think Dennis is going to play in this game. And then you also add on top of that their inability to get pass rush. Not having Kalijah Kancey, he's been out with injury, doesn't help. Vita Vea is a great run defender, still an all right pass rusher, but he is not the guy you're going to count on to consistently get pass rush, which is why Todd Bowles in this defense leans so much on blitzes. I think if Clint Kubiak can help Spencer Rattler kind of diagnose these disguised looks with motion, with getting Chris Olave a whole lot more involved than he was against Kansas City. I think Chris Olave and Mason Tipton had the same amount of targets in that game, and two of those targets to Olave came from Jake Haener in the fourth quarter. So I think getting Olave more involved, especially in the slot, which is how Atlanta started to win by getting Drake London involved more in the slot, I think that is a way to get the Saints the win here. But I just really think that offense, the Bucs offense going up against a team that's going to be without Pete Werner. Also to note for the Saints offense, Cesar Ruiz, Taysom Hill, Ryan Ramczyk, and Eric McCoy are all not going to play in this game. So that is the starting right tackle. That is the starting, I think, right guard, and the starting center, and the starting quarterback, and the starting whatever you want to call him.
All of that seems to be a pretty great equalizer for a bad defense.
Yeah, if you can't figure it out against this team, you have major issues. So I think I'm also going to choose Tampa. But again, if Clint Kubiak is able to just completely window dress this game for his rookie quarterback in his first game of his career, I can see it being a little fun.
I hope it is. I hope that we see a big Spencer Rattler touchdown pass downfield to Olave or Shaheed. I think that would get, at least, especially the fact that it's in New Orleans, that would get people excited and would definitely start the conversations of maybe they just don't give the starting job back to Derek Carr. So we'll see how that goes. Both of these teams, though, offensively, the Saints are 7th in EPA, the Buccaneers are 8th. So these are two good offenses. Been slowed down a little bit over the recent weeks, have the Saints, but this will be a fun one, hopefully, in New Orleans. This one probably won't be fun, or at least, it's going to be, the national hate watch of the week. The Cleveland Browns traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Kevin Stefanski, after last week's game, remained adherent. We are not going to change quarterbacks. Hey, blink twice, Kevin, if you are being held hostage at the moment. That was what Verderam said when he was on the show this past Monday. So good shot there. 9.5-point dogs are the Browns. And, man, watching this game back, there was just there's nothing that can be fixed with Watson. He's just too far gone in terms of talent, just not being there and seeing open guys at different levels of the field. So very easily going to pick the Eagles to win this game, no matter what their flaws may be. They aren't this flawed. They're playing this game at home. Maybe this will finally be the straw that breaks Deshaun Watson's back and they turn it over to Jameis. I don't know. But the fact that we keep having these conversations, the same conversations about the Browns week after week after week after week, eventually I feel like there's going to be a mutiny in Cleveland where Kevin Stefanski and Myles Garrett and a few other guys just go to Jimmy Haslam and say, look, we're going to bench him or you can get rid of all of us because this is why are we doing this? We got to try to win games.
The biggest issue out on the field with Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns is he can't run Kevin Stefanski's offense. He does not want to run Kevin Stefanski's offense. I was doing some research for a story I wrote earlier this week on why the Browns should bench Deshaun Watson. They have the 6th highest shotgun rate in the NFL at 82%. When Baker Mayfield, of course, I'm not saying Baker was better than Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. When Baker Mayfield was a quarterback for the Browns, their shotgun rate was 29th in the NFL.
Oh, wow.
They want to be under center. They want to use play action. Kevin Stefanski comes from that Kubiak offensive system, and Deshaun Watson just can't do it. So you bring in Ken Dorsey, who does nothing like what Stefanski wants to do. He's more spread, RPO, and Deshaun Watson's really bad at that too. He can't throw a quick game. He can't throw down the field because he can't read out the field. And there was a play, they're running dagger with a little corner route on the backside.
Yep.
Deshaun Watson, 5-step drop back, panics in a pocket that is completely clean.
Bails to the left, I think.
Yeah. The dig is coming to the left. Jerry Jeudy is wide ass open. This is not just NFL open. This is high school football open. He doesn't see him and throws in a double coverage to Amari Cooper. At that point, it is done. It is over. What else are you supposed to do? He's not even taking checkdowns at this point. He's scrambling. And even then, when he's a scrambler, he only has a 25% first down rate as a scrambler. Jesus. He's not even the good things that he is supposed to be good at, he's not good at anymore. He's trying to play this game like he's back in 2020. But a lot of stuff has happened since 2020. Injuries, getting old, and now he hasn't shown the ability to adapt. And that's been the biggest problem. Kevin Stefanski and the Browns have tried to adapt everything around this quarterback, and he has not been able to play in any circumstances. The offensive line has been bad. Yes, I'm not excusing the offensive line being bad, but he is not making them any better. But I say all that to say, if you're going to get right against any defense, it might as well be the Eagles. I mean, holy cow, that defense is bad. And the reason that they are bad is because, well, first of all, Cooper DeJean is going to be starting in the slot over Vontae Maddox. That solves
that's good.
That is one of the problems. The second problem is none of your linebackers can cover. So if you're a nickel,
and they just released Devin White, who they signed for whatever reason, unbeknownst to anybody.
I mean, it was a 1-year deal.
I know,
It was a nothing deal.
Sure.
But none of your linebackers can cover. So when you're a nickel, you're asking to do a lot more. Jordan Davis is off the field in nickel, so you can't stop the run in nickel. You can't defend the pass in nickel. They're one of the worst teams at defending 11 personnel in the NFL. I mean, it's horrendously bad. I think the Eagles are 28th in the NFL in defensive EPA allowed against 11 personnel. The teams that are behind them are the Commanders, the Rams, the Patriots, and the Jaguars. That is exemplary. That is exemplary company you want to keep. The two teams above them are the Bengals and the Raiders. That's the company you want to be in, baby. That is exactly the type of company you want to be in. If the Browns are going to win this game, they have to try and gash them when they're in nickel, because the Eagles' offense is healthy now, and I still do think Kellen Moore has some questions to answer, because why are they throwing the ball so much? Don't throw the ball. Don't throw the ball at all. That's why you went and got Saquon Barkley. But the problem now for the Browns is everybody's healthy. Devontae Smith is going to play. A.J. Brown's going to play. Lane Johnson's going to play. At some point, you don't have enough dudes, and especially on an offense where you're not able to score. So I think I'm going to go with the Eagles here, but I could very well see this being like an Eagles collapse and Nick Sirianni is out of a job.
Wouldn't that be something if that's what breaks Nick Sirianni's back, is losing to the putrid Browns offense, who are last in the NFL in EPA, last in the NFL in success rate, 31st in EPA per dropback. The only team that's worse somehow is the Tennessee Titans in that regard. So yeah, I mean, it's been abysmal for the Browns all year. Really, I mean, the last 2 years, going on to 3 now since Watson came over, and they just haven't been able to do anything. But yeah, defensively for Philadelphia, they're 28th in defensive EPA. So it's been a tale of, two teams that are coming together. That, Cleveland was an 11-win team last year, finished the season off strong. The Eagles made the playoffs after a bad finish to last year. And now we're kind of seeing both of those come together, where the Eagles have been up and down. The Browns have been mostly down. And, one of these, it's a movable force meeting a movable object, and somebody's got to win it. I will take the Eagles. But yeah, this is going to be ugly. Over under for this is 42.5. I feel like that's an easy under to bet as well. Like, these aren't going to be high scoring off. I think it's like first to like 20 wins this game.
I could see the Eagles kind of blowing this one open, especially if the Browns can't generate any offense, kind of like the Cowboys game. The Cowboys really didn't play that well offensively, but because the Browns couldn't move the ball past midfield, eventually, if you keep swinging the bat, you're going to hit the ball.
Fair enough. The AFC South, Colts traveling to the Titans. Indy coming off a bad loss. We already talked about the Colts a little bit. The Tennessee Titans. Is Will Levis playing? I haven't seen really any updates on that.
He is starting according to Brian Callahan.
Okay, so no Mason Rudolph this week. Rats. Do you think that Mason Rudolph's probably the better option? I'm kind of thinking he might be.
Yes, but what are you solving with Mason Rudolph as quarterback? You came into this season wanting to figure out if Will Levis was the guy.
Is it too soon to say he's not?
I mean, I think it might be, but at this point, I don't know if Mason Rudolph leading the Titans gets you to the playoffs.
Oh, here's the thing. I don't think that it does either, but I think at this point, and maybe you're right, where you just ride this thing out with Will Levis and see if there's anything there. That makes logical sense. I do hear you on that. But just to play devil's advocate, I mean, if they, Mason Rudolph looked fine against Miami when he had to come in relief of Will Levis, but I think that there's a world where Brian Callahan just says, all right, there's clearly nothing here in terms of being able to put this in a jar and take away all the stupid stuff that just can't be canceled out. So maybe they feel that way, maybe they don't, but I don't know. I've never been like a huge Will Levis guy, and it just feels like there's not enough there to show that he can be a franchise quarterback.
I don't think there is either, but I don't know what you solve if you're the Titans if you start Mason Rudolph. Because like I said, you're not making the playoffs with Mason Rudolph as your quarterback. So you might as well just see how much Levis can develop this given the season.
Pittsburgh Steelers made the playoffs with Mason Rudolph as their quarterback in the final month.
And again, anything can happen, of course. Yeah. But if you go into the season, like you said, Mason Rudolph made the playoffs with the Steelers. You make the playoffs with Mason Rudolph, you now tie yourself to Mason Rudolph. You don't want to tie yourself to Mason Rudolph for 18 games or 17 games. So if Levis plays, Levis is bad, you go into 2025 knowing you need a quarterback. If you go in, play Mason Rudolph, I mean, you don't gain anything. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not
Sure.
making the playoffs with Mason Rudolph. You might not make the playoffs with Will Levis, but at least you figure out if Will Levis is good.
I hear you on that. I do. But in any regard, Tennessee's defense pretty good. Tennessee's offense the opposite of that. The Colts have been an up and down ride on offense, where you've had Joe Flacco come in and really fit of Anthony Richardson. Do we know the status of Anthony Richardson for this game? I haven't checked any of the Colts stuff.
I think Stephen Holder said he was going to play.
Okay, so we're recording this at 5:00 on a Friday, so we'll see if that comes to fruition.
So Richardson is playing. Jonathan Taylor is not.
Okay, so no Jonathan Taylor. That's pretty big for the offense. For that reason, like Anthony Richardson coming in cold, missing basically the last 2 games, and a Titans defense that I trust a lot more than I trust either side of the ball for the Colts. It's at home for Tennessee. I do think that they win this game. It's a 2.5-point spread. I think it'll be a close game just because I don't think either of these teams overall are very good. And maybe Anthony Richardson makes a few splash plays that keeps Indy in it. But I will pick the Titans to win. If
you can't move the ball on the Colts defense, you got a big problem because everybody has moved the ball on the Colts defense. Yep. So if Will Levis cannot generate any positives on the field against this Colts defense, then you have a problem. I'm going to pick the Titans here. But again, if this turns into a fireworks show, I don't know if Will Levis is going to keep, throwing the firework play.
Sure. Houston Texans hosting the New England Patriots and a debuting Drake May. God help him.
Excited.
Man, I'm excited to watch Drake May. I'm not excited to watch him behind that offensive line against a D'Amico Ryans defense that is going to send constant heat at that poor boy.
All right.
And I'm excited to see how he can play against it. Go ahead.
So hear me out on this.
Okay.
I understand why they're starting him now. And the more that I think about it, there's an avenue to success for the Patriots offense against this defense. I mean, okay. I think the biggest thing that you're going to see from the Patriots offense with Drake May in it is more verticality off play action. The Patriots offensive line is actually pretty good at running the football. They're actually good at run blocking. I think that is an area where they have been much better than they have been in pass pro. It's just in drop back situations, they have not been good. However, Jacoby Brissett also brings on some of that pressure. I think Drake May is a little bit better of an athlete. He can mitigate some of that pressure a little bit, but I expect this to be heavily run game, play action, and then let Drake May throw the ball heavy off those heavy play action shots downfield, which, I mean, the Texans defense has been very good. Kamari Lassiter will not play. So they are down a starting corner, and they have shown the ability you can attack them downfield.
Yep.
Bills had opportunities to attack them downfield. They are just playing Lobo at wide receiver and not a real receiver. So if you can get them into those situations, you can win this game. I'm not saying they will win this game. I don't think they will. But it feels like a game where you can see a little something from Drake May.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Alex Van Pelt kind of translate what he did with Joe Flacco last year, where it's just like, all right, heavy play action, launch that thing. And, they drafted receiver heavy in this draft. We're going to see some shots. So I'm looking forward to that aspect of it. I hope that they just kind of let him cut loose a few times and use that arm. And maybe we'll see some athletic plays. Regardless, you know what? I kind of want to be frisky and be like, what the hell? Drake May will get an upset. Crazy things happen every week. Texans are 6.5-point favorites. The game is in Foxborough, the most gloomy-ass looking stadium in the NFL, by the way. Every time I watch it on TV, I just get sad. I don't know why. It just feels like a place where dreams go to die. I'm going to pick Houston because that feels like the logical thing to do, but I'm going to be watching Drake May with a very close eye and hope that he does a lot of cool stuff.
I also think Houston's going to win. I am really excited to see CJ Stroud against this defense.
That'd be fun.
I want to see if Christian Gonzalez follows Stephon Diggs or if he follows Tank Dell,
Yeah.
because Christian Gonzalez has been really,
Really
really
good.
good this year. I think it's been lost because the Patriots offense hasn't been that good, but he did such a great job of shadowing Tyreek Hill last week. And for a bigger corner, the only guy that I have seen shadow Tyreek Hill and do well is Jalen Ramsey. So Chris Gonzalez playing at that level, Keon White still playing at a really high level. They come in really injured. I'm not sure what their the injury status of most of their defenders are, but anything can happen. But I just think the Texans have too much firepower.
Anything can happen. And we shall see what happens in New England. The Cardinals travel to Lambeau Field to take on the Packers. The Packers are a funny team this season, like really funny. Jordan Love's funny. Nothing more hilarious than, some of the throws that he's making, entering the stadium with a Brett Favre jersey and then having some very Favre-ish games. The Packers, though, man, they were my pick to come out of the NFC and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl this year. I don't want to completely decommit from that. They're 5.5-point favorites. This is a defense that you should be able to take a little bit of advantage of, especially in the run game. Like if they can run the ball really well here, then I love their chances of success. The Cardinals have been a little bit better than expected in the pass game. So I'm going to take Green Bay. But I want to see them start to kind of get into a consistent rhythm and string some wins together so I can get more confident in them getting, a deep playoff run out of this unit.
So the Packers defense is first in the NFL in EPA per rush allowed. They are really, really good against the run.
Yeah.
Against the pass, they still have a lot of question marks. They haven't been able to generate consistent pass rush. And every corner outside of Jair Alexander hasn't been great. Xavier McKinney has been phenomenal to start the season, but they still don't really have a corner. So I wonder if the Cardinals are just going to lean straight into the Kyler, go do something cool, and just let him rip it to win this game. But the Cardinals are too small on defense. They're far too small. And I think going against a Matt LaFleur team that has shown they don't have to throw the ball to win the game. They will willingly run the ball 40 times a game. I'm concerned for the long term, or I'm concerned how long the Cardinals can keep up defending the run the way they do against this Packers team. So I'm going to pick the Packers, but this feels like it's going to lead to a little more fireworks and chaos because these are two pretty chaotic quarterbacks.
Right. Jordan Love last week threw the most hilarious pick six that you'll see this side of Brett Favre. Like about to eat a safety, falling down, just kind of like almost underthrows it in the air. Rams DB just like, thank you for this gift at the 2-yard line. He
is the truest Brett Favre regen in the NFL. And it's funny because he missed 2-3 games. He is still fourth in the NFL in average depth of target.
I love it.
I love it. Like that. That's just so funny to me. He's thrown 6 touchdowns, thrown 4 interceptions. He is the perfect quarterback.
I love Jordan Love, man.
On the field. Give me that over checkdowns all the time.
100%. Like I love a guy who says, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down swinging, damn be everything else. And he is very much the epitome of, he is a gunslinger in a era of knivesmen where play a little bit scared. And I love that about him. So I'm going to pick Green Bay, and I think that we could see. I do agree. I think this will be a fun game between two quarterbacks that are very fun, very chaotic, and two, especially a Cardinals defense that's still in the works of putting something together for the future. But think about this: if the Cardinals win, first place in the NFC West right now.
That's hilarious.
It's very funny, and I hope part of me hopes that it does happen, just because that's. You would have the Cardinals and 49ers and Seahawks all at 3-3 right now. And then the Rams, who are, still holding on for dear life and trying to put something together. Chargers, Broncos. Broncos have won 3 straight games in a row, and I don't care. I still do not believe it.
I freaking love this Broncos defense.
The defense is very good. I just don't take them seriously as like I tweeted this a few days ago. I think that their ceiling is being the 2021 Patriots, where they ride a few fluky weather games and a good defense to a potential playoff spot if they do get in. There was a few weird games that year for the Patriots where they played a lot of like really injured teams. They played Buffalo that year in a game that had like 50-mile-an-hour winds, and Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times. I think that that's kind of what they are, is a team that has a really good defense and a rookie quarterback who might peak as a rookie. And if they get into the playoffs, I think they'll get immediately obliterated by an actually good team. So I don't take this team seriously for a minute.
I mean, yeah, I can agree with you there. I just like watching this defense. I love watching them play up front. Zach Allen
kicks ass.
DJ Jones, been one of my favorite players in the league since he was a 49er, just kicks ass in the run game. So he and Zach Allen on the defensive line, both are awesome. Justice Strnad is having a great year for the Broncos at middle linebacker. Riley Moss being really good. For opposite Patrick Surtain II, him, Surtain, and McMillan are a really fun, really young cornerback group.
Did you see what Pat Surtain said that him and Riley Moss want to call themselves in the secondary?
Oh, is it something alluding to white man can't jump?
It's no. He said that the Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss duo should be referred to as Pulp Fiction, and I really liked that.
That's awesome. I want to make that a thing. Let's call him Pulp Fiction.
There was another one that I saw about Riley Moss that I'll tell you after the show because it feels a little bit inappropriate to say on a podcast, but I'll let you know. You might already know what it is, but it was funny.
I actually think this game is going to be pretty fun if all the Chargers offensive linemen are going to play. They haven't released the practice or injury report, of course, because they are in Los Angeles. But on Thursday, Joe Alt was a full participant in practice. Rashawn Slater was limited. So we don't know yet. But if the healthy offensive line for the Chargers plays, I'm very excited to watch these two like titans go at each other in the run game. I want to see if they can get Ladd McConkey more involved downfield in the passing game because he's been their best receiver so far. But this is going to be the Sunday ticket game for me. Like the game that'll probably be like, they had the quad box. It'll be like the second quadrant of the quad box, but I might have that game on audio.
I got you on that. Do you have a guess what the over-under for this game is?
The over-under is 35.5.
It is 35.5. I want to say that's the lowest of the weekend, and I'm pretty sure I would be correct in that. And it is the lowest of the weekend. So no surprises there between these two defenses. I love what Denver's been able to accomplish on that side of the ball. And again, it was like a weird game against the Raiders where they had a pick 6 from Surtain. Their defense really just did a lot of the heavy lifting. Bo Nix, made a few throws, but I think that his numbers were a little bit inflated. But in this game, I will take the Chargers coming off of a bye week, getting a little bit healthier. I just don't see the Broncos being a team that wins 4 in a row. I don't know why. I don't know why I hate the Broncos so much, apparently, but I just can't buy into them.
I'm gonna take the Broncos.
Okay.
The reason I take the Broncos is because I still worry about the Chargers in pass protection. I mean, Alt and Slater have been good this year, but it's the interior of the offensive line that gives me the most pause. And if you can't keep Justin Herbert upright, then that's going to be an issue. And I think the Broncos secondaries played really well. It's going to take some Herbert superhero plays, which he is capable of doing. But I'm curious to see how they generate explosives in the passing game because I think they can do it in the run game. But the passing game is really where you got to get after this team.
All righty. Staying in the AFC West. Oh, God help me. The Raiders hosting the Steelers. The Steelers have lost their last 2. Vegas feels like their season is all but over already. It's a matter of when, not if Devontae Adams gets traded. Hey, maybe this time next week he'll be a Steeler. Wouldn't that be lovely? I can cross my fingers all I want for it. The Steelers are 3-point favorites in this game, starting Justin Fields again. I feel like they've set this poor boy up to fail. And a lot of that stems from the language and the way that they've gone about the Russell Wilson stuff, where he's been a full participant this week. That's great. He's going to be the backup quarterback. Glad that he's getting back healthy. But it feels to me that like they're just kind of waiting. Like, all right, if we win this game or lose it, but if let's say, all right, we win this game, 18-13, the offense still doesn't look explosive. We'll throw Russ in there to give us quote unquote more explosive plays. What do they think that Russ is going to do that Justin Fields can't? I really just don't get the thought process behind this. Regardless, Steelers need to really win this thing to avoid losing 3 straight to a Raiders team that defensively, he's got some dudes. Believe Max Crosby's going to be all systems go for this game. Cheddar Bob Spillane in the middle, former Steeler. Love Robert Spillane. He's an ass kicker in the middle of their defense. But you're going up against Aiden O'Connell. This defense is the highest paid unit in football for a reason, to beat teams like Aiden O'Connell-led teams into the ground. The Steelers, though, only have won 4 games at the start of 2021 by more than 1 score. So it's going to be a 1-score game, and it's going to be a low-scoring 1-score game. But I will cautiously take my Steelers to win on the road and get back on track. You gave me a little bit of a look about the Russ Justin Fields conversation there. I feel like you're going to say something.
I think I would like to see Russ in this.
JP, come on.
You're why. And it's not because I think Russ is better or worse than Justin Fields. I just don't think you've seen enough to conclusively say Justin Fields is our quarterback. I think Fields has played fine, but again, you have no explosives in this offense. You're missing the downfield explosives in the passing game. You're not generating any explosives in the run game, which was the plus for Justin Fields over Russ. Like, you're supposed to be able to generate those explosives in the run game, but they are still one of the worst teams at running the football in the entire league. Like, it is still really bad and painful watching them run the football. They are 29th in EPA per rush right now. And again, the teams below them are the Texans, who have not been able to run the ball for 2 years. The Dolphins, who are on like their 13th combination of offensive linemen, and the Raiders, who've been one of the worst rushing football teams in the league this year. So you still can't generate any explosives in the run game. You really haven't been able to generate any explosives in the passing game. You haven't been able to be very successful on offense. Their success rate is about 19th in the NFL. It's just average when it comes to everybody else. But I think I would want to see Russ just to see if anything is different.
The only pushback I'll give there is, and not to turn this to a Steelers podcast or anything, but everybody knows I'm a Steelers fan. So I just think the play calling is very bland and very conservative, and that's very annoying to a large extent. And Najee Harris runs like he wears boots, and that doesn't help the run game. They've also dealt with a lot of injuries up front too. I mean, they lost James Daniels, Isaac Saleh missed the first month of the year. Troy Fatanu's also gone. So they've gone through a large array of offensive linemen as well in the run game. They also just haven't asked Justin Fields to run the ball, which makes no sense to me. Like, I agree with you in that sense. Like, you got that guy because of his athletic ability. They haven't really leaned into it a ton. And the explosives were there the first 2 weeks. One of them got negated for a penalty, but yeah, they have somewhat died down. Even the first 3 weeks, I mean, he threw a 60-yard touchdown. I don't really know why. I mean, I feel like I do know why. It doesn't matter who the coordinator is or who the quarterback is or anything of that nature. The Steelers always come out very conservatively on offense, and eventually, when you can get rid of every quarterback you want, you can get rid of every offensive coordinator that you want. Eventually, patterns lie in the lab of the head coach, and a lot of this falls on Mike Tomlin, and I'm going to keep saying that. But this is a game that you got to win. I would like to say that they'll win it convincingly, but the Steelers don't win games convincingly. So I'm going to pick them to win, but I won't be surprised if it's by like 5.
I also think they will win. I wouldn't be surprised if the game ends like 10-9.
Oh God, don't let that happen.
I just worry about the Steelers' ability to generate points. Like, they can't score points on offense. And I know, like, a lot of it is Arthur Smith. The play calling has been bland, but I also think that a lot of it has been trying to hold the quarterback's hand
a lot. Yes,
game, because like, you got to dress it up a little bit for Fields. You still have to do that. So I want to see them lean more into play action, more into Najee Harris downhill, running at defenses. No more toss plays.
Dude,
throw that out the playbook. Get out of the booth. Get it out of there. Or if you're gonna run them, run it with oh my gosh, I don't know if Jaylen Warren's going to play, but run it with Cordell Patterson.
Well, Cordero Patterson, he got hurt against the Colts, did not play against Dallas. He's also out this week. Jaylen Warren looks like he might play. They originally listed him as doubtful, but he's had a great week of practice. He said he feels great. So that's kind of a weird situation, but I think that they are a lot more optimistic about his chances to play Sunday after the week of practice that he had. So he might be back, which would be a big plus for the offense. But yeah, this game's going to be boring, and I'm not looking forward to watching every snap of it. Falcons-Panthers, another NFC South matchup. Not much to say about this one. I think that Atlanta should win against a Panthers team that is, a bad football team. We know that they're not good. Atlanta, hey, shout out to Kirk. First player in NFL history to throw for 500 yards with 3 different franchises. Good on you, Kirk. Way to go out there and keep kicking all the ass.
I am also picking Atlanta, and I'm picking them comfortably. I am curious to see if Atlanta can run the ball. They're 26 in EPA per play on the ground. As much as I love Kirk Cousins and what he did against the Bucs, you don't want Kirk Cousins throwing the ball. Like, how many times did he throw the ball?
I think 58.
Like 58 times. You don't want him to do that.
Absolutely.
You don't want him to continue to do that. Yeah, he threw the ball 58 times. That's not winning football.
It's not.
You're not going to ask Kirk Cousins to throw the ball 60 times a game every week. So if they're able to generate any semblance of a run game, I think teams have kind of keyed in on Bijan a lot, which is, of course, Bijan is awesome, but getting him in more favorable situations will help him out a lot.
Lovely. Detroit, Dallas, fun game Sunday window. I assume that'll be Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt in the booth, considering that they are basically the TV voices of the Dallas Cowboys at this point. Yeah, this will be a good one, I think.
Ooh.
Detroit 3-point favorites. Dallas in Dallas. You don't like it?
This game is going to be a boot to ass.
Oh, boot to ass. All right. Feed it to me.
So, Eric Kendricks is not playing. Micah Parsons is not playing.
Oh, yeah, this is fair.
Dallas is 31st in the NFL in EPA per rush allowed. Dallas.
Oh, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, 200 yards apiece, you say?
Yeah, this is going to be a boot to ass game because the Cowboys they're too small up front. Like they play small. The Cowboys play their defense like they're expecting to be in 3rd and long every single down. And against teams like Detroit, who are unafraid to run the ball 40 times, that's going to get your ass kicked. So I am genuinely concerned for this Cowboys defense because, again, the last time we saw them against a team that actually would run the ball through their face, Baltimore ran for like almost 300 yards.
Oh, yeah.
This is – I have a bad feeling this game turns into a Detroit blowout. The only way that Dallas makes this close is – so Detroit has been much improved on defense. Their secondary still has some lapses. They're very young back there. This has got to be a Dak and CD game.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be in order for them to win. I just don't think they're going to be able to do it against a Lions offense that is playing the best football in the league right now.
And Detroit kind of started off slow. We had that game against Arizona where we expected both offenses to kind of go off, and it was just kind of a meh game. They seem to have found their bearings, especially after Jared Goff went 18 of 18 against Seattle on Monday night a few weeks ago. So they're very much back in the swing of things, are the Detroit Lions. And yeah, this could be a very fun blowout to watch, and I'm very much on board with that. Fun blowouts are good. Like the Raiders blowing out the Chargers, and I was putting up 70 a few years ago. Was that last? No, that was last year. That was last year, JP. Goodness gracious. Stuff like that. If it's going to be a blowout, give me that kind of blowout where it's just obscene and gross and constant cuts to Jerry up in his press box, just looking heinous at life and just wishing that anybody would make a play. Give me all of it. Give me all of that.
Yeah, and especially Frank Ragnow's coming back for the Lions. Oh, boy. This is, again, the cards are not lining up in Dallas' defense's favor. Because the Lions are getting healthier, you are not. And the Lions are also coming in pissed off. Remember the game last year against the Cowboys?
Oh, the eligible tackle game that they got screwed. Yes.
Yeah. This feels like a boot to ass game that's about to happen.
Ben Johnson's going to come into this week with one message, and it's an acronym, RTB, run that bitch. And they are going to do that all afternoon. Run the damn ball.
Run the damn ball. Jared Goff is going to continue his perfect streak by going 0 for 0 in the pass. Do not throw this ball. And even if you do, you still might be successful. They still aren't healthy in the secondary.
Right.
Like, this is not setting up to be a good game overall for Dallas's defense.
I love the sound of it, and I'm going to be watching it very intently, hoping for a fun blowout to take place. This game on Sunday Night Football, I think, is going to be a real snoozer because for some reason the NFL insists on putting the New York Giants in primetime. Cincinnati Bengals traveling to New York. I don't like being the guy who, like, something happens and I'm just like, dude, I don't care. They're not good. I don't care about the Giants, man. I really don't. I just can't be bothered to think that Daniel Jones is going to put it all together. And I still feel that way. Giants don't intrigue me. They don't scare me. The Bengals, even at 1-4, I still think they're going to be a playoff team in the AFC just because everybody else, I think, has at least 2 losses outside of Kansas City. So, and Houston, who has 1 loss. Outside of that, I mean, it's pretty open for anybody. So the Bengals defense, yes, it is a problem. It is a very real problem. Even so, I think they go into New York, they win, and that's about that. It'll probably be a boring game. 23-16, somewhere along that line. That's my guess right now. But I think Cincinnati does get the job done.
This is my FAFO game of the week. Fuck around and find out, Cincy. I hear what you're saying about the Bengals still making the playoffs, but again, the Bengals we just talked about Dallas being 31st in the NFL in EPA per carry given up. The Bengals are 28th. The biggest difference here is the Bengals are also 25th in EPA per pass given up. They're not stopping anything. Like, their biggest asset on defense is Trey Hendrickson. And against a much improved Giants offensive line, and I actually think Brian Daboll has done a really good job of scheming and play calling this year. And I'm not going to say Daniel Jones has played great, of course, but he's been
better, sure.
He's been better. I just really, really worry about this defense for Cincy. I mean, we're getting into crisis point. At 1-4. This is a must-win game because I don't think you make the playoffs if you go 1-5 to start the season. You can't.
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think you make the playoffs if you go 1-5 to start the season. I don't want to pick against an offense that is clicking at the right time with Joe, T, and Jamar all back.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow's playing his ass off right now, very much like at an MVP level, and it's all for naught right now.
But I also feel like this is a game where we could see a Dexter Lawrence takeover. Very quietly, Dexter Lawrence has been
very
one
good
of the best defensive players in football. I think if the Giants continue to keep this up, Dexter Lawrence should win Defensive Player of the Year. He has like 17, 18 pressures as a nose tackle. He has like the same pressure rate as some of the top edges in the game right now.
Great Campbell's soup commercial that I keep seeing. Great stuff.
Commercial. And also his sack dance is great. Oh boy.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm picking the Bengals. You could pick the Giants if you want to be contrarian and go opposite of me.
For the sake of content, I will go with the Giants.
Okay.
I'll go with the Giants here. I think this is going to be a big I think this is going to be another really good game for the Giants defense to really put together something schematically. And the offense just has to, like, they've played well. The offense has played well.
Yeah.
So, and this is a defense where you can obviously find some matchups to exploit.
Can we talk about Devin Singletary, the fact that he doesn't wear anything on his arms or hands and how much I hate watching it?
Go Owls. First of all, hold on. Go Owls. That is one of my favorite FAU Owls ever. That is a real hooper right there. No gloves, no tape, just violence. It's like what Booker T says, no bread, no water. Just running that damn ball.
I can get behind Vita Vea doing it or like a defensive tackle doing it. Even like Trey Hendrickson wears sleeves, but he doesn't wear anything on. He doesn't wear any gloves, so I can get behind that a little bit. Trey Hendrickson was at FAU.
Yes, he is.
I did not know that.
I think he's like the record holder in single season sacks at FAU.
Maybe it's just a thing for FAU guys to just not wear anything on their hands.
That's right, because we real grinders over here.
Okay.
we working down here in Boca.
Okay, I'm gonna pick the Bengals. JP will pick the Giants. The Bills and the Jets. Aaron Rodgers fired Robert Saleh this past week and pretended that he pretended that he didn't. But just to really hide the breadcrumb trail, they didn't make Nathaniel Hackett the interim head coach. They made Jeff Ulbrich the interim head coach, and Nathaniel Hackett's no longer calling plays. So
what
maybe
does he do on this team?
I don't know. He gets the coffee. He's basically that paid intern that just gets coffee for everybody.
The assistant to the offensive coordinator. What do you mean? What is he doing? Why is he here? If he's not calling plays, he's not integral to the design of the offense. What exactly?
He is Aaron Rodgers' mood control at this point. Like
he's not even doing a good job.
I know he's doing a bad job at that. There was when Dennis Rodman played for the Spurs, there was a guy who the Spurs kept as like the 13th guy on the bench who did not play. He was just Dennis Rodman's friend, and their whole goal was, I was like, dude, just get us in line. And eventually at the end, obviously, they traded him to the Bulls because he wasn't doing a good job of that. I think we're kind of there with the Jets. I think that's Nathaniel Hackett's role, is eventually, all right, we brought you in to be Aaron Rodgers, guy, and you're not even doing that right.
On a very real note, the Jets offense, this feels like the 2018 Packers when McCarthy got McCarthy. This feels like an aging like rock star going on tour with a much younger band that wasn't the original one. And it looks like it would be cool, but it doesn't sound the same. The notes just aren't hitting. In this case, I guess Aaron Rodgers is 83-year-old Bob Dylan here because this offense is just not this offense is bad from schematic to execution. There's no motion. There's no play action, really.
Keep in mind, there's no motion because Aaron Rodgers notoriously hates motion.
Aaron Rodgers does not like motion. It is all just Aaron Rodgers going to the line, calling plays, and you have to be ready. He will hand signal you a route. You better know what the route is. But the problem is Aaron Rodgers can't get away with it like he did in 2018 because Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that the Vikings did on Sunday was make him one-dimensional. They made him only constrict to the short throws. And once you did that, the pick six happens. He's not the same athlete. So if he's not going to adjust, this was the biggest thing, the biggest reason why Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers worked so well, because Matt LaFleur made Aaron Rodgers adjust his game. And right now, he's not having to adjust because he's got Nathaniel Hackett running everything that he wants him to. Right. Todd Downing run the same thing he wants him to. And again, I just don't think this offense is going to be able to move the ball if they want to continue down this road. They can run the ball on the Bills. The Bills are not stopping the run. But I don't think that's going to be the game plan that they're going to go to. Now, when it comes to the Bills offense against the Jets defense, I'm actually very excited because this feels like a good matchup for the Jets because, again, that was a rough game.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. I'll talk about that very in-depth. That was rough.
Brutal game. If they can't get anything going in the passing game, this Jets defense is going to tee off.
Yep. And, if you look at Josh Allen's passing charts from the game against Houston, that looked, even overall, that looked very much like a Ken Dorsey called Bills game than a Joe Brady called Bills game because the run game was successful early on. James Cook was getting 5-6 yards a pop. They just got away from it. And you can attribute that to, them getting down or whatever. But even then, if the run game's working, you don't have to go away from that. I think half of Josh Allen's passes were 15 yards or more downfield. That's not Joe Brady ball. That's very much Ken Dorsey ball, where it's live and die off these deep shots. There were two plays early on. I think both of them were on the first drive. Josh overthrew Mac Hollins, Mac Hollins is Mac Hollins, and could he have made the catch? Sure, but, it could have been a better throw by Josh as well. And then Dalton Kincaid, where he put way too much heat on it, went past Dalton Kincaid's hand, and they ended up punting. But after that, nobody could really consistently get open. Kincaid had a catch on the sideline that was very clearly a catch, ruled incomplete. McDermott didn't challenge it. They punted the ball away. Might have changed the outcome of the game. I don't know. But the play calling has been really weird the last 2 weeks, really, from Joe Brady, where I like Khalil Shakir, but Khalil Shakir should not be if you take him out of the offense, all of a sudden everything goes to shit. And it very much did. And, everybody was all about the whole everyone eats mantra for the first 3 weeks of the season when you're playing, a Cardinals defense that you can have success against, or a Miami defense that you can have a little bit of success against, or a Jacksonville defense that you can really have success against. When you play a Ravens team that's going to beat the hell out of you, or a Texans team that's going to be physical, man, you got to find something or find somebody that can get open. Keon Coleman hasn't really been able to do that. Mac Hollins sure as hell isn't going to be able to do that. They haven't really used Curtis Samuel outside of just bubble screens and putting him in the backfield for like one play a game. Like,
That's
I don't
what Samuel is.
Yeah, and look, I don't think Curtis Samuel's like anything great, but I mean, he's had 60 plus catches over the last 2 years in each of those 2 seasons. So I mean, I think he's a little bit. You can do more with him than just that. The play calling's been weird overall from the Bills offensively, and their offense has suffered because of it, and they need to get back on track. And this is, albeit a really good Jets defense, but a team that's going through a lot of turmoil right now. But at the same time, the interim head coach bump is a very real thing we've learned over the past couple of years. So maybe I think it's going to be closer than what some might think.
Yeah, I would like to see them get Dalton Kincaid involved a lot more.
Absolutely.
Because
I think they just need to use 12 personnel more, man. Like, they are bad. They got Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, and they still haven't figured out how to run 12 personnel consistently, and it boggles my mind.
And I think the reason that they're not able to do that is because teams don't respect their ability to run the ball out of 12. Dalton Kincaid is an effort blocker, but he is not a
good blocker.
Like, there was a play where I think like Jalen Petre just steamrolled Kincaid on a screen pass, and it's like, damn, that's tight end. Like, that's not what you want to see if you're an offense. But I think the reason they do that is because they don't get respected in that personnel. The way that they get teams in the base is by going jumbo and bringing an offensive lineman onto the field. I think they'll see a lot of base and nickel from the Jets defense, but the Jets defense still has a lot of speed. So this has to be a Kincaid game. You don't want to live and die on 50-50 balls to Keon Coleman against DJ Gardner, because Keon Coleman had a bad game last week. Might be a worse game this week against this defense. So I want to see what the game plan is against this defense for an offense coming up off of a really, really bad game. They have not been able to connect on anything downfield. I don't know if this is the game where you can, but they need to generate some form of offense.
I feel like this is the team where if I'm Devontae Adams, I'm saying figure out a way to get me to Buffalo. And if I'm the Bills, I'm saying figure out a way to get Devontae Adams to Buffalo.
Or figure out a way for Devontae to be a Jet, because he's the only one that knows what the routes are.
I guess so. I mean, this is the ultimate This might be the Devontae Adams Bowl. Whoever wins this might get him.
This is the Devontae Adams Bowl, and then the Ravens are coming in cashing in Money in the Bank.
Oh, let's hope not. For my sake. I hope that's not the case. That would be kind of a pain in my ass if that happens. But that is every game on the week 6 slate. Obviously had 49ers and Seahawks last night. The 49ers win pretty handedly in a weird game. Did you have any quick takeaways from that?
The Seahawks kind of built this bed defensively where they didn't address the linebacker position in free agency. They let Jordan Brooks walk. Jordan Brooks is a very good player.
Very good.
But the game last night was a microcosm of all the mistakes in personnel that they have. Their linebackers were brutal. They were brutal in this game, and that's something they have to continue to out scheme and out. You have to try and outmaneuver not having linebackers. This is not a team to not have linebackers against, because if the passing game is kind of inconsistent, like the 49ers passing game has been, I think Brock Purdy has played well.
Yes.
But I also think this season Brock Purdy has leaned more into the chaos, which good luck. I think the Seahawks had success blitzing him, but they weren't able to get into those obvious blitz situations because they kept getting their butt kicked on first and second down because their linebackers were bad and couldn't stop the run. So if they can't stop the run to get teams into those obvious third down situations, they're going to struggle a lot. They need to find consistent linebacker play. They need to help their linebackers out a little bit and just tell them not to read and react as much. They look so slow to the point where now it's like, oh my God, I can't be slow. They're overflowing. They're too quick to overrun the ball. For the 49ers, you put up 36 and it was a bad game.
Yeah.
So figure it out in the red zone, man. That's real weird. You got to stop doing. They're not weird. I'm not gonna say weird. They are bad in the red zone because they missed Christian McCaffrey. They missed those easy buttons. I think to an extent, the 49ers have still missed the easy buttons, but it hasn't mattered because there's still so many easy buttons in the offense. Dominic Pooney, the right guard, the rookie,
he's a dog.
He's played awesome. Malik Mustafa had some great plays in the secondary. They got a lot of good from the rookie class.
Renardo Green had a pick 6, so I mean they definitely getting a lot from those guys.
Yeah, but Seattle, they got to figure it out and up front on both sides of the ball.
And we saw the frustration from DK Metcalf where he's telling offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, like, hey, can we throw it past the sticks? And I think a lot of why they didn't was because Geno Smith was under a ton of pressure. Specifically from Nick Bosa.
Their way of addressing the Nick Bosa problem was really bad. Yeah. And that is they left Stone Forsythe on an island.
Yeah, didn't get anybody to chip or anything. They said, good luck, man.
You out there surviving. They need to bring in help. And it's a problem because their interior offensive line hasn't been good, but they're on like their third right tackle at this point. Yeah. They feel kind of bad, but it's rough for Seattle up front.
All right, and that's week 6, either previewed or reviewed, and we'll be back on Monday to talk a little bit about it and talk about the Monday night game. So a lot coming. JP, what do you got coming written wise?
Well, so that was fun. Went out on Wednesday. Go look for that. I'm gonna be doing a lot more NFL draft stuff. At least the mock draft 2 weeks ago, and just follow on social media, see what I'm doing, see where I'm going.
Lovely stuff all around. From me, follow all the stuff at the Sporting News. Piece on, go read the interview with Max Crosby. That was a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing a piece on, quarterbacks that were kind of cast off that are kind of coming back. So a little bit about Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, and how it could kind of change the way that teams look at certain quarterbacks and maybe fit in certain schemes. So that'll be a lot of fun. That'll be coming in the next couple days. Until then, enjoy your weekend of football. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening as a podcast, leave a review. I'll read all of them, and it'll make my day a lot better. Until next week, enjoy your week 6, and I'll see you guys later on the Pump Fake. Thank you so much for tuning in.